How you doing today, Professor Fletcher?
Yes, sir.
Um, when did you first decide to enter the music industry?
Well, right after college, I decided that I wanted to play music. And I started in about 1975.
1970.
Yeah, and, you know, kind of the rest is history.
Yeah. What are some of your works that include other artists from that time?
Okay, well, I played with a lot of people, rock people like Dr. John, jazz people like Miles Davis, but then I made big hits with rap artists like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and the Sugar Hill Gang.
That's dope. So when did you decide that it was finally time to do something different and switch careers?
It's funny. I think I told you about that because you really made me think about that again. I had 8 acts. I was making money, and I used to threaten. You kids are driving me nuts. 8 acts, 30, 40 kids. You book a kid for Norway or Finland, and 3 days before he's leaving, he gets arrested for child support. So now I got to get him out. Another kid. So it was driving me nuts on one hand. But then I was in England, and we were the first crew of people who were doing remixes. And I was making quite a bit of money for about 3 weeks over there, of which I used to spend 4 months of the year in England. And my daughter had a seizure. She was like 2.5. And my wife called and said she was in the hospital, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. I just felt bad. What can I do? My wife said she knew how much money we were making, which was quite a bit for 3 weeks then, and still it's money now. And she said, well, no, stay and see what happened. And what happened was my daughter never had another seizure. She was all right. But after my wife got through talking to me, my mother called me. And my mother said, you better get your ass on the first plane home. Your daughter is in the hospital. I know you're making money. Well, how much money would you have to make if your daughter died? Would make it worth it. And I felt like a piece of you-know-what. I thought about it. I said, I never want to feel like this again. So I decided it was time for me to stop traveling and be home. And that's kind of what I did. And I had enough success. I had made enough money. First of all, teaching is the family business. My mother's a teacher. My father was a teacher. My grandmother taught at a country school in Georgia. My daughter is a third-grade teacher. My daughter-in-law is a high school teacher. My son-in-law is an administrator at Rutgers. It was the family business. I was never going to teach. Not never.
Look at you now.
25 years. As a matter of fact, high school for 14, now college for 13, because I taught high school and college for a while, only college for about the last 12, and in the last 10 years, I've missed 2 classes.
That's amazing.
10 years, 2 classes. I don't think I've ever been late in 10 years, and that's how my parents were. And one of the reasons I think I made it in the music business was because I was always a hard worker. And one of the things I always felt like, I was an athlete before I was a musician. I was an athlete until I was a freshman in college. I was one of them guys to be the first one in the gym, the last one to leave. Because I wasn't, like the best. But I always wanted to be better. And so I figured if I worked harder, I could get better than a lot of people. And the same thing was in the music business. I always figured like a lot of people in the music business, they got fatal flaws. They do too many drugs. They run too many women. I didn't have that. I was a family man. I think, and I tell people today, I think being a family man is what kept me alive. Because a lot of the excesses people had, I just couldn't do. Because I had responsibilities that I took very seriously. So yeah, I kind of wound up doing that. And then for about 18 months, I didn't do anything. I just laid on the couch trying to decide what I was going to do. I had enough money. I didn't have to answer the phone if I didn't want to. I didn't have to do nothing. So I did nothing. And then all of a sudden I decided, well, what are you going to do? And I started teaching. My first job was in a juvenile detention center. I taught them for 15 months, and then I went to high school. And I did everything in high school from vice principal to literacy coordinator to in-school suspension guy to all of that stuff. And then I started teaching college, which I love, which I hope to do until I dropped it. No time soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay, so what do you think would be, what would you consider your motivation right now as far as to what keeps you going and teaching?
Staying relevant. I mean,